Good morning, second graders. Miss Shannon here. We are going to be doing our last lesson in Unit 4. Can you believe it? Tomorrow we will be taking our end of unit assessment. Let's get started with today's lesson. You might remember earlier in this unit, we read the story, Jim and the Beanstalk. Well, there's more to this story. Several months after Jim chopped down the beanstalk, he awoke one morning to find another beanstalk had grown outside his window. Since his last visit with the giant, he had been telling his friends about the giant, but none of his friends would believe him. With the new beanstalk outside his window, Jim had an idea about how he could convince them that the giant was real. He decided he would take 5 of his friends up the beanstalk and walk to the castle to meet the giant. When Jim told his friends about his plan, they were all very excited, and everyone went to the beanstalk and began to climb. They climbed the beanstalk high into the clouds until they couldn't see the ground anymore. When they reached the top, they walked to the giant's castle and stood in front of the huge wooden door. On the ground by the door, there lay a giant envelope with a letter in it leaned up against the door. The giant must be working in his yard because he left some of his tools up against the castle wall. And here is a picture with Jim and his 5 friends at the giant's door. What do you see in this picture? What objects do you see next to the giant's door? I see a dog, an envelope, a shovel, a hammer, a rake, a saw, a ladder, and a watering can. So we see some of Giant's tools up against the wall. Second graders, you might be saying, Miss Shannon, what does this have to do with math? Well, let's find out. We are going to use page 54 in your Bridges student notebook. And it should be titled The Giant's Door, Part 1. We are going to fill in the first few rows together, and then you'll work on your own to make more entries on the chart. Listen as I read the directions out loud. Use the picture of Jim and his friends outside the giant's door to answer the questions on the chart below. So you can see there on page 54, we see the hammer, the watering can, and the shovel. It is asking, how tall is the hammer? How tall is the watering can? And how tall is the shovel? We are going to be using the different objects and items leaning up against the door to show how we can compare measurements and see how different objects compare to one another. We are going to start by looking at the hammer. You can see I have circled the hammer in red, and I'm going to zoom in on this picture. There is our hammer. We want to find out how tall is this hammer. Well, this hammer is up against the wall and it is near some bricks. How many bricks high is this hammer? That's right, this hammer is 1 brick high. I can also see that there are other objects that are the same height as the hammer. You can see I extended the line all the way across the wall to see if it lined up with other objects. Do you see other objects or items that are the same height as our hammer? That's right, I see the watering can and I see Jim, the boy. They are the same height as the giant's hammer. So I can see that the hammer is as tall as 1 brick, 1 watering can, for one kid. That is how tall the hammer is. The watering can is the same height as the hammer, so I think you all will be able to fill in that column on your own. But let's take a look at the shovel. We want to know how tall is the shovel. So I have zoomed in and circled our next item. How many bricks tall is the shovel? 3. It is 3 bricks high. Now, if I know that the shovel is 3 bricks high, are there other items up against the wall that I could stack until it equals the height of the shovel? How many hammers would it take to reach the height of the shovel? How many kids would it take to reach the height of the shovel? How many watering cans would I need to stack on top of each other to reach the height of the shovel? You can use those answers to fill in the column for how tall is the shovel. I've done the first one for you. The shovel is 3 bricks high. You can pause this video if you need, and then remember you are going to fill in the columns for how tall is the watering can and how tall is the shovel. I would like you to fill in at least 3 of the rows for each item. After you finish page 54, we're going to take another look at our picture to refresh our memory. And then you're going to look at page 55. This is titled The Giant's Door, Part 2. Once again, you will use the picture of Jim and his friends outside the giant's door to answer the questions on the chart below. This time, you will think about how tall is the rake? How tall is the ladder? And how tall is the giant's door? Second graders, for the giant's door, you can go just to the straight, flat part of the door. You do not need to do or include the archway. So just the flat top part of the door when you are measuring how tall is the door. Remember, I would like you to fill in at least 3 rows for each of the columns. Okay, and when you reach the end of the slideshow and you've finished your pages 54 and 55, I would like you to take a picture of either 54 or 55, you can choose, to share your work with me and put it in the green box on the slide. If your camera is having a hard time today, I would like you to please type your answers on this slide. Make sure you've written an answer in each of the green boxes. Thank you for working with me, second graders, and remember that tomorrow we will be taking our Unit 4 assessment.